Hello and good morning, my dear friends. I am going to be talking about skin barrier repair today in all my glamorous, fashionable glory. I do have to start working soon, but I wanted to get this done before I have to start running around. And I'm the type of person that if I don't just do it now, it'll never happen. I'll just sit on it constantly and it'll just never happen. So that's why I'm not appropriately dressed or anything like that. But if you guys have been watching the unedited series, then you'll know that this is just how I roll. So here we go. All right, I'm gonna try to blast this out like just with my thought process of, where I go with things. And you might notice that like my mind's a bit of a smorgasbord when it comes to organizing my thoughts and how I come up with treatment plans for people. But I want to talk about the skin barrier repair thing in an elaboration of an Instagram story that I had done the other day. So in skin barrier repair, we liken it to, it's like leaky skin syndrome, really, which is, we've all heard of leaky gut, right? That's pretty common. Leaky gut syndrome is an involvement of, the gap junctions and the tight junctions in our gut lining being compromised. Also some desmosome related stuff, that's more related to skin, topical skin in my mind than in the gut lining. So we've got gap junctions, tight junctions, just basically a leaky membrane, a leaky tissue that's allowing the passage of more things through into our bloodstream than what's normal, what's okay, which then creates immune responses and all this type of stuff. A similar situation also happens in your skin. So if you have a compromised skin barrier, a couple things can happen. You can have an increased amount of what's called transepidermal water loss. So loss of hydration in the skin, which is not good on any level. It can aggravate many different skin conditions, as well as just like compromise the appearance of the health of your skin. So increased transepidermal water loss, it also increases the likelihood of pathogenic bacteria or just infections or skin irritations becoming more pronounced when you have a compromised skin barrier. So all skin conditions, the ones that we most commonly think of when it comes to a compromised skin barrier would be things like eczema, like psoriasis, dermatitis type conditions, but acne and rosacea also have compromised skin barriers. So it's relevant to everybody who has skin, period, but also people who have skin conditions that need to be healed. So compromised skin barrier stuff is relevant to everybody. So there's two things that I want you to remember when you're focusing on helping to heal and maintain the health of your skin barrier. And I'm going to try to simplify this as much as possible because it can get overwhelming with the amount of information that's out there, because there are many different things that you can do to help heal your skin. So one is to remove the offender. So if we start with like looking at leaky gut syndrome with that whole concept of removing the offender, commonly that would be diet augmentations, working on stress, all that type of stuff, things that are actually compromising the health of the gut lining. So commonly we think of things like gluten, for example. That's gluten and dairy are usually the most common things that people would say that, if you have leaky gut syndrome, like probably avoid these things just to kind of help with the repair of the gut lining. And also stress. I think stress is one that we don't really, stress is an overarching concept as well. And I think that's why it can sometimes be a little bit confusing for us when people are like, yeah, work on your stress. It's like, well, what does that mean? There's a lot more involved in stress management and cortisol regulation than just, meditating or taking deep breaths, if you will. I'll leave that topic there because I could talk for a very long time about stress management and what that actually means and what that looks like and all that type of stuff. It's a complex subject, but it also doesn't really have to be, So removing the offender, that's what we would do in leaky gut syndrome. Topically, a removing the offender situation would look more like, what are you using in your topical skincare products? So a common one that I see, I mean, there's two things that I see in people's skincare products that probably aren't helping the situation. It's the same as like gluten and dairy and leaky gut syndrome, right? Where it's just like, is that actually the thing that caused the leaky gut, or is it the thing that's aggravating the leaky gut issue, right? So it's the same thing with topical skincare as well when you're thinking of this leaky gut syndrome or leaky skin syndrome kind of concept, that surfactants and emulsifiers are two things that can compromise the health of the skin barrier. So those are two things off the hop that we want to make sure that we are not using to excess. So over cleansing, for example, is never a good idea. But also the certain types of surfactants that you're using. And there are so many of them out there now these days, right? Like the skincare world is complicated. Even for me, it's complicated. And I've spent a few years now trying to learn more about all these cosmetic science ingredients and what have you. I think that's why I formulated the skincare line, just based out of like all my understanding of what I was learning. So yeah, surfactants, so things that are cleansers. So we need to be really mindful of that. So we want to look for things that are, ideally, I really love oleo gels. I think that they're like the perfect situation. They're like a hybridized approach to skin cleansing. But things that are formulated for sensitive skin or for dry skin, not necessarily things that are formulated for like acne prone skin, for example. In fact, I would encourage you, most of the mainstream things that are for acne prone skin, just to stay away from. Just because of the harsh ingredients that they use, that there's this whole concept of like stripping the skin of the excess sebum, what have you, which is never a good idea. And then emulsifiers. So emulsifiers are things that blend oil and water together to create creams. So you're commonly going to see emulsifiers in creams. Most emulsifiers that are out there, I would suggest that you stay away from, like CDRL alcohol. So, man, off the top of my head, I'm really struggling with this right now. The stearate one. I'm not editing this either, guys. This is where my head's at right now. I'm like, I don't remember the words. Sorbitan, Olivate is another one. Yeah, there's a whole laundry list of them. So what I would suggest that you do is, if it's not glycerol buthenate, buthenyl alcohol, or lecithin as the emulsifier, then just don't use it. That's probably the easiest way to explain it. Just don't use it. Or there's actually a couple others. Yeah, I'm not going to get into it too much. Maybe I'll do a whole video on like emulsifiers, because off the top of my head right now, I'm not remembering certain things. But yeah, emulsifiers are a really big deal to be avoiding, because they don't really know when to stop emulsifying, right? Like they bind oil and water together, but how does the emulsifier know to not bind the oil and water together on your face? And then it continues to compromise an already compromised skin barrier. So yeah, that's kind of the reason there. PEGs and polysorbates are also other things that can over time lead to compromising the skin barrier, or aggravating a compromised skin barrier. So those are other things to look at avoiding in your skincare products. So that would be a remove the offender example. And then we want to add in things that will help repair and replenish, right? So in leaky gut syndrome, then we're thinking of things like, nutrients, like L-glutamine, for example, is really common. Aloe is another one that you commonly see used in helping to repair the gut lining. Amino acids, marine collagen, for example, that one's gaining popularity, which is wonderful to see for gut lining leakiness. There are a lot of different things out there. Also helping to restore the health of the gut microbiome can also help improve, what's living in there, what's being made, like your short chain fatty acids, all that type of stuff, which will also ultimately help the repair and the health and integrity of the gut lining. So when we think about this from a skincare perspective, there's a couple different things. So skin is great because we can do internal stuff as well as topical stuff for the repair. So when we think topically, first off, for adding things that will help repair, I really like peptides. I think peptides are wonderful. Peptides to me are like the positive part of the advancement of the understanding of cosmetic ingredients. Peptides are cell communicating ingredients, and when they're at a certain size, they will actually absorb into the skin, get to where they need to go, and then they will actually influence the cells in the area to be, carrying out certain tasks that maybe they're not doing properly or what have you. So as an example, in the barrier repair cream, I have Caprooyl Tetrapeptide-3, I think is the number that's on that. And next time, guys, I'll make sure that I'm a little bit more read up when I say things. But yeah, we're just putting the information out there anyways. So that particular peptide helps restore the health and integrity of what's called the dermal epidermal junction. So like we're talking about like cellular skincare here, right? And I think that for the most part is what's lacking when it comes to skincare in general and repair, healing of skin conditions. So peptides are wonderful. I'm a really big fan of resveratrol as well because, it's going to help reduce lipid peroxidation, which can aggravate or, make the skin barrier more compromised. Wonderful antioxidant to be adding. It also helps support a healthy skin microbiome. A lot of different things going on there. So yeah, topically, those are some great options. Also, just the application of certain types of oils. So linoleic acid is an omega-6 fatty acid, and also your omega-3 fatty acids. Now, omega-3 fatty acids can be what's called comedogenic. So like oils that are higher in omega-3s, like chia seed oil, for example, has a tendency to be more comedogenic or more pore clogging in nature. So that's where I would advise that you, two things. Use it in a temporary situation. So that's why the omega cleansing balm is what it is, because it's basically an omega complex that you can topically put on your skin, but it's in a complex formula. So one, it's less likely to clog your pores. Two, it's a cleansing balm, but it can also be used as a face mask. So you can apply those things topically on your face, keep them on there for a period of time, and then remove them. So that diminishes the likelihood of the pore clogging features of chia seed oil from happening. So that's a perfect example of how you can get those topical applications going on. Internally, doing things like taking an omega complex, so not just omega-3s or omega-6s, although there is some interesting research out there on increasing those to a pretty high dosage of the active ingredients of an omega-3 particularly, but I'm not going to talk about that in this video because I want to learn a little bit more about it first before I discuss it. But yeah, taking an omega complex is a really good idea. I've got an omega complex on the site. You can use that one or something similar to it. But yeah, making sure you're getting the right dosage and the right milligram dosages of those omega-3s, omega-6s, omega-7s are great for reducing inflammation in the skin, and omega-9s are always a nice little embellishment to optimizing skin health when it's used in combination with other omegas. So you've got your omegas. Obviously, like getting a nutrient-dense diet is a really good idea for your skin health. There are a lot of minerals that are really important for optimizing the health of your skin. So the enzymatic reactions that happen in the cells of your skin, the creation of what I had mentioned before, the desmosomes, the hemidesmosomes, the corneodesmosomes, those are all things that kind of hold the cells together in your skin. And those require nutrients as well. So minerals, as an example, selenium, zinc, manganese, magnesium, calcium, all that type of stuff. Your omegas, of course, like we've already discussed, are really important. And then marine collagen, of course, is always good because it's got your amino acids in it too, which are also really nice. Amino acids, by the way, are great topically as well if you can find a great amino acid formula. But internally, just making sure you're getting adequate protein intake or you're supplementing, ideally getting the right amount of nutrients through your diet directly as opposed to supplementing all the time, is obviously a good idea. So those are things that you can use to start replenishing the health of your skin barrier. And lastly, I want to leave you on the one that I think is the most overlooked, because to me it's kind of like the most boring, is adequate hydration status. So making sure you're getting your water intake in every day, and like pure water, good water. So purified water, get a water filter. I mean, ideally in a perfect world, and I don't have one of these, so I don't tell everyone to get them just because I don't have them and I speak from my experiences on things. But a Berkeley water filter would be like the greatest gift in the world, especially for someone who is trying to work on healing their skin or anything in general, really. So yeah, making sure you've got proper hydration status. So usually the suggestion is half your body weight in ounces in the day. I usually translate that to 2 to 3 liters of water a day for the average female. I think that's a reasonable amount of water to get in and isn't like you're drowning yourself in too much water. And then also making sure from a topical perspective that the hydration of the rooms that you're staying in the most, so your work environment or your home environment, the humidity, not hydration, the humidity in the air of the place that you're spending the most time in, that it's at an adequate humidity status. So we want to be around like 40 or 50% humidity is a good place to be for optimizing your skin health. So getting an air humidifier that you regularly clean is a good idea. Stuff like that. So yeah, making sure that you're maintaining hydration, because if your cells are dehydrated, all those beautiful enzymatic reactions that happen to help improve and maintain the health of your cells and your skin barrier, ultimately, it's all compromised. Like it's basically just not going to help. Like all the extra things that you're doing just are not going to be helpful if you are dehydrated. So don't forget that part. Anyways, I hope that helped kind of clarify a few things. I hope I wasn't too rambly here, but I got the point across, I hope. And yeah, stay tuned. I'll be making more videos like this.